This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. I am sorry I missed my deadline last week, but this episode has just too much good stuff in it for me to get it done in one day. But thank you for joining me for another episode of Bad Movies We Love.
If you're listening to this, you are the Resistance.
That's correct. And if you want to be part of the Resistance, like my good friend Ben from the Cinema Shit Show, who decided to go over to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove, you can make a small donation, and those donations go a long way when helping out a small independent podcast such as this one. So thank you, Ben. I appreciate you, buddy. We may have a little project in the works, so stay tuned for that one as well. But today, I was joined by everybody's favorite Twitter cinephile, and coincidentally, Ben's brother, Seth from Movie Friends. He took one for the team, and he joined me to talk about Battlefield Earth from 2000.
All I could think was, I see how this could be a good movie.
You're asking the audience to do, way too much.
I found myself coming to a place of, defending this movie.
The music swells. He's reading the Declaration of Independence.
When I saw that it was the year 2000, I was shocked. And it is nothing like The Matrix.
Each cyclo they introduced into the movie was more hideous than the previous one.
This is the most neck action, maybe, of any film I've ever seen. It's a bad look, though. It's bad.
Battlefield Earth is anti-fashion.
The Wachowskis took all the leather.
You're already way taller than us. What's with the platforms, Gandalf?
It's sloppy. It's real sloppy.
And when these idiots start laughing for no reason, I'm just laughing along with them.
That is so silly, but it's also psychotic.
Seth, the Shice International Film Club, the concierge outreach coordinator. Welcome back to the show. You were here for the second episode of season 2 or the first? It was one of the first two.
Yeah, one of the first. When you were migrating everything over and decided to do a dedicated film show, came on for Troll 2.
Yeah, it's still one of the most popular episodes of this show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big bad movie, so that's not super surprising. And after reviewing Battlefield Earth, I never thought I'd miss Troll 2 so much.
You can't talk big bad movies without Battlefield Earth. That is up there with the biggest and baddest of all bad movies, I'd say.
Correct.
And so this was one that I think the first time I saw it, I was like, this is terrible. And I mean, it still is, but it was one that I watched again with far lesser expectations a second time, a few years down the road. I think it had sort of it had its theatrical release. It went to cable a year or so later. And then it was sort of getting kicked around all the cable channels as it sort of made its way down the faucet to eventually be on YouTube or something for free.
Sure.
But the second time I watched it, it was able to sort of just land with me in a way where, because all of the expectations were removed, because I knew what was going on, but also still don't know what's going on, I was able to just sort of vibe with it a little bit better. And I mean, look, some movies are vibe movies, and probably several of them that I've covered on this show have been that kind of movie. But looking
Sure.
at sort of like the general ratings and scores, I would say that this is safely the second lowest rated. It's right there with Biodome, because Biodome, I think, has a
Wow.
Metascore of 1 or 0, and this has
That's
a 9.
ridiculous.
But
That's so
yeah,
ridiculous.
but having talked about both of these movies this year, probably just only a few months apart, Biodome is significantly better at doing the
Sure.
things that it wants to do in
Yeah.
comparison to this film. So I could understand people not liking, some of the humor choices and stuff like that, but it succeeds far better as an idea brought to life versus this, where, I'm learning a lot that I didn't know about it. Like when I first watched it, I had no idea this was L. Ron Hubbard. I was just like, whatever. It's a sci-fi
Yeah.
movie. I like Barry Pepper, John Travolta, Forrest Whitaker. Well, it's all good.
Sure.
I have no knowledge of this. And so sort of knowing that the second time around, and then also sort of grappling with this idea that this movie was frowned upon and sort of passed around to a bunch of different studios because of its connection to Scientology is also very weird. Now that Tom Cruise is the biggest movie star in the world, it seems like the Scientology brand wouldn't have been such an off-putting thing. But I mean, this was 23 years ago, so it just says a lot about how much has changed over that time. And this ended up being like John Travolta's baby, and he like defended this movie to, to outer space and back.
Yeah.
He has famously championed for a sequel. I think he still is like, if they want to make a sequel, I'm down.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to make this movie back in 1983.
Yeah.
He wanted to play Johnny Boy. Like that was the original plan. And then eventually he just got way too old for that role, which, I mean, all right, we're putting Barry Pepper in instead. They're close enough at that point that he probably could have pulled it off. But I understand kind of moving on. And I also understand wanting a sequel because this is only the first half of the book.
Yeah.
And so to him, it's like, we didn't tell the story. Like there's still a lot more that happens, after the destruction of Cyclone.
It's like your home planet was just destroyed. Is there really a sequel to be had at this point? It's just you and Forrest Whitaker left on Earth. And then I guess there's some invading forces from elsewhere. I don't know. I haven't read the book. Like I said, I had no idea that any of this was connected to Scientology. So I don't want people to think that this is some sort of pro-Scientology episode of the show, which it is definitely not.
No.
And I think if you were to actually like sit down and watch this movie, forget about its reputation. But if you can just step back, watch this movie, I don't think you can confidently walk away from this being like, well, that was a pro-Scientology message. And I think Ebert famously said in his review that like this movie is devoid of any sort of thought process like that.
When you see the Scientology, the L. Ron Hubbard of it all, you can very easily see like the the whole idea of like a person rising above their fate and destiny, and like waiting on the gods to come back and save you. And it's like through the gaining of knowledge of the sciences that you can free yourself from the alien oppressors. You can see all of it pretty clearly, but this movie was based on a novel that L. Ron Hubbard wrote that was not intended to be part of the Scientology religion. It was just supposed to be him writing a science fiction book again, which, if you ask me, that's what he had been doing all along. And I will say, so we've been doing sci-fi films all this month over on our show, and we covered a pretty wide gamut of different films. And being in that headspace of thinking about like Kubrick's 2001 and Besson's Fifth Element and E.T., I felt like really in the correct headspace to review Battlefield Earth. And here is what I will say. This movie has a lot of problems, and a lot of the problems are stylistic choices. costumes, performance choices with the cinematography and the effects. But what I will say, two things. One, I think that Barry Pepper is actually doing a good job in this movie. I think that he had no control over how it was shot or how it would be edited and arranged later on. And two, I think the whole time rewatching it to do this episode, all I could think was, I see how this could be a good movie. I think if you gave it to, I don't want to say a competent director, because the director of this, I don't know if we're going to talk about his credits, but he had done a lot of stuff, and he certainly knew his way around making a movie. I think if you gave it to someone with a different spin on it, it would actually be an okay movie. And the other thing that I kept thinking of was when this movie came out. So Battlefield Earth comes out in the year 2000. This is a post-Matrix world where the Matrix just, completely changed how movies would be made for the next 10 years and blew everyone's minds and showed, okay, now here's another step up of what science fiction can be. And then you go into this big epic space movie, Battlefield Earth, and it is nothing like The Matrix. When I saw that it was the year 2000, I was shocked, because this looks like 1997, Hercules, the TV show style effects and costumes and acting and editing. It just feels very, very dated, like 5 years behind the year that it came out. And again, 1999 is one of the best years for film ever. And so it's not surprising that this like totally crashed and burned.
Yeah. One of the things that I had jotted down in my notes was like, this reminds me of what a really good B movie would have been in the late 80s, early 90s. And there's some that are in that neighborhood where I'm like, well, I like those movies. So that's probably why I'm a lot more tolerant towards Battlefield Earth in terms of its stylistic decisions.
Yeah.
But also sort of as I was running around doing errands today, I was thinking about this, and I was like, it's a movie where almost every single creative choice was arguably the wrong one.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned like Roger Christian, he's not an incompetent director. He was second AD on several of the Star Wars films. I mean, he was recommended for this job by George Lucas for the reason that he probably was a competent sci-fi director. So I don't know how much of, his DNA is in this film, especially like reading about how much John Travolta really was like sort of the driving force behind this. And I mean, Travolta was 25% of the budget basically for this film. And also he was coming off of the run of like Broken Arrow and Face Off, where he became a very bankable, charismatic villain. And so I think he maybe believed a little bit too hard in his own marketability as such, and banked very heavily. And I heard that his contract he took less than he normally would have in exchange for back end points, thinking that this movie was going to do significantly better than it did. So, I mean, that unflappable self-belief is something that I have to at least applaud him for. But I don't know that he brings anything to this movie that like we didn't see in those other roles, other than being a Scientologist and sort of like being the main reason that this book was going to get adapted into a film in the first place. But you had said like Barry Pepper is good in this, and he's like, I give Barry Pepper credit because he's trying. Right. Like he's working so hard in order to make what the movie sort of could be at its best come across the screen. Right. And I think it's a movie that's stuck between a rock and a hard place, in that it's sort of like it wants to be this big, huge scale sci-fi film, but like they don't dedicate the money to it. So it's like you're always going to lose there because you don't have the budget to support that. And you're talking a year after The Matrix, and you guys are still using like painted backdrops here. Like you didn't build a set, you didn't go to location, you didn't do any of the things to sort of enrich the texture of the visual presentation of the film. Yeah. So you're asking the audience to do like way too much. And then at its core, like if this is really a story about sort of like overcoming your station and sort of defeating your gods and all that, and if that's what this movie is, why is so much of the movie like the sort of incompetent bumbling of these cyclos and their business prospects? And I think, you know, we had done Superman for September to start off film club, and in that we sort of see Lex Luthor portrayed as this genius, but also working with Otis, who's like a buffoon and doesn't do anything right. And you sort of get that same element here with Travolta, and then a Forrest Whitaker character who's completely bad at every single thing he does throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, Forrest did not come out of this one. It's such a shame. I mean, Forrest Whitaker is normally great. You know, he can be really funny. He can do drama incredibly well. This was, it was unfortunate. Well, I think that there's supposed to be, you know, we spend so much time with the Cyclos. There's supposed to be parallel stories happening here with Johnny and I'm going to mess up their names all the time because the two names are just Clur and Blur.
It's so Kang and Kodos.
Right. I'm going to call him just Travolta. But, you know, Barry Pepper and Travolta, they're in the same spot where they are trapped, right? The whole beginning with Travolta is, you know, he's burning all of his bridges and he's leaving the planet because he's done his time and he's going to go on and conquer galaxies. And it's the same exact thing with Barry Pepper. Barry Pepper's dad dies. He had come back from trying to find some medicine for him. He throws the medicine, most dramatic throwing medicine scene that I've ever seen. And then he's like, I'm leaving. And they try to hold him down and no, this is what we're supposed to do. And this is our fate. And he says, well, I don't care about that. I'm leaving. And then he ends up getting captured. And so you have these two guys who both want to surpass where they are, you know, their position in their own like culture, but they're trapped. And so we're supposed to see like how they end up working together, even though they hate each other, they respect each other, even though they both think that each other one is like a disgusting alien. All of that gets washed away. Like that's the story. That's the story of this movie. You know, we do have like a little bit of a love interest between the two of them. And even that is kind of a parallel because they're just very much on the outside, you know, outskirts of the story. The story is supposed to be the two of them, and it just completely gets lost in all of the gobbledygook. It's a shame because, you know, Travolta wants to make this movie for 17 years before it's released. It's not like he didn't have time to sit around and like think of these characters. He's pitching this movie. He's trying to get this movie made. And so his version of this character, it's not like, oh, he didn't have time to prepare or, oh, he was just trying something. You know, as a lover of the book, he would have had that voice in his head as he's reading, you know, for years. Like, this is this guy. And it is over the top. It is very silly. The voice doesn't bother me as much. But, you know, we're supposed to believe that this guy is like very like a hybrid, classically trained, you know, alien guy. And so I can understand why he kind of speaks in a highfalutin kind of a way.
Yeah, he's arrogant.
Yeah. And so I can see through the mud on the screen to be like, oh, just make it like this, make it like that, change this. And it's a good story. And so I found myself coming to a place of like defending this movie,
Yeah.
Or the movie that could be. The movie that could be.
No, I think that's a good way to say it, because like I said, the first time I saw this movie, I was like, oh wow, like the reputation really like was warranted. And then the next time I was like, all right, I know this is terrible. It just happens to be on. It's like middle of the afternoon or something. And I watch it. I'm like, you know what? Like, this isn't that far off from being something that probably would have been successful and that probably would have been the movie that they thought they were making at one point. So in that regard, I just feel like you said, seeing through the mud is kind of maybe the way that I viewed this, or just like I put on my rose colored glasses. And when these idiots start laughing for no reason, I'm just laughing along with them. Just, hey, I don't know what's funny, but you guys are laughing. So let's have a good time. But what you had said about Travolta, like, I don't know if you know the details of sort of when he pivoted from thinking that he was going to be the hero to the villain, because like if that was something that happened very late in the process, I could see him being like, oh, I didn't really have a plan B up until just recently. And maybe this is why some of his choices with the voice and the mannerisms and that stuff just were very odd, to say the least. But maybe that's the best I can do. But like you said, he was pitching this for so long. Like if anybody was going to know the story and know the characters and then sort of become the backbone of the film and really be the one that's involved in a lot of creative decisions, and if that's going to be you, then you can't on the back end be like, well, like it should have done better for these reasons. It's like, these are all your choices, right? Because I know the DP on the project said that, like, I didn't want to shoot the movie like that, but oh well, I didn't have a choice. Like, I didn't want to shoot the movie with all these blue filters, but that was not my decision. So you've got a lot of guys that were creatives all sort of pointing the finger at the next guy, like, oh, ask him. I was just collecting a paycheck on this one.
So did you notice the reason for the different filters?
The atmosphere, maybe.
So when we are following the human speaking characters, we have the yellow filters.
Yeah.
And then when we switch over to whenever a scene is being dictated from the cyclos, it switches. And there's one scene in the middle where Pepper is like dealing with Travolta and it's blue, and then he runs away and it doesn't quite do a color swipe, but it transitions from blue to yellow. And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, there's actually like a point to all of this. It's like they're actually trying to like visually show you kind of whose perspective we're seeing, because they do that a few times with the language too. And that is one thing that I will say I actually did like, is they don't just have Travolta always speaking in the alien language. Sometimes he'll start it and then transition into English, or depending on who is, again, like whose perspective the scene is showing, we'll hear him speaking in English, or we'll hear him speaking in the language. And I actually kind of liked that. And I wish that more alien movies would do that a little bit more. I did think, I mean, clearly, again, this book was written or published in 1982, right? But you can see, to me, I saw three movies or stories in this like so strongly. The first, very obviously is Planet of the Apes. Barry Pepper's whole thing is basically just Taylor and Planet of the Apes, except instead of waiting for the end to get the reveal, in the first few minutes, he goes to the human city and sees the statues. And, we as the audience realize kind of what's happening, even if he doesn't. The second is Dune, because of the whole idea of the cyclos, or cyclos, harvesting material on all these different planets, and their own planet is like this way overdeveloped like hellscape. And even what was the one guy's name? Planet,
his name was Planet.
No, let's see, I wrote it down here because the name is so wild. Oh, Planet Ship. I guess he's the guy in charge of Earth.
This was like the older dude with the even more aggressive eyebrows.
Yes, yes, yes. Like he's got like 15 chins, I think. Like that's very like Baron Harkonnen kind of thing from Dune. And then the Matrix, because in the Matrix you have Agent Smith, and Agent Smith ultimately reveals that he wants out. He does not enjoy policing the Matrix. He can't stand the people and he can't stand the smell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's
like I had all
smell.
of these. I love that line reading.
I
love it. Like that's
Hugo's
one of
fantastic.
my favorite moments, because that line walks such a razor thin line of like, when I remember like first hearing that and just kind of like laughing, like that is so silly, but it's also like psychotic and crazy, and I think he pulls it off. But yeah, like the whole idea of downloading all the information into Barry Pepper, and like now he can speak the language, and he's like, no, I'm going back in. It was like, all right, we just saw this with Keanu in The Matrix, and yeah.
He says, I know Cyclo. And then he goes and gets back in the chair. I did like the learning machine, but also, like you said, we had just seen it in The Matrix prior. And you and I were just kind of joking about the movie, like in our messages yesterday. And we talked about sort of like the opposite fashion between this and a movie like Fifth Element. And I said Battlefield Earth is anti-fashion, but I also realized that it's almost anti-sci-fi in that it takes all of the influences you mentioned. There's Star Trek in there, there's Star Wars in there. Like realistically, every profitable, solid sci-fi story that had been on film at that time, that's in this movie. And it's just so sort of like cheaply copied and pasted into this one. I mean, like the guys are predators for the most part. They got dreadlocks, they wear breathing apparatus, they're 8 feet tall, they're super strong, they have like blasters that'll destroy anything they touch. So it's like there's so many different elements of so many other sci-fi movies in here. It's almost as if, you know, you were to task a child with sort of like creating a story out of like magazine clippings. And so you go around and you're like, oh, okay, well, I like this element, this element, this element. And there's a chance that if you pull it off right, your collage is going to be awesome. But there's also a very good chance that the collage is not going to turn out very well. And I think, unfortunately, that's what we get here, because they're, you know, in the shadow of The Matrix, the bar is significantly higher. Like, had this movie come out in 97 instead of 2000, it would have been probably more palatable. But also, I mean, Fifth Element was 97, so you're not really getting a reprieve there either. Like, even if you're lower on the Fifth Element love language than I am, you can still see that, like, the Fifth Element, by comparison to this film, is exceptional. So,
well, it has original ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's all like hero and this and goddess and superpowers. Sure, like, and of course, you know, he's basing it on, you know, elements from comics and whatever. But there are moments in the Fifth Element that feel interesting and original and not just like muck. And I think that's a lot of how this was shot. And the costume choices, like Jean-Paul Gaultier for Fifth Element, is like pulling out all the stops. Everything looks cool. Everything looks really well made and like interesting. And even like, you know, like the tank tops that they're wearing. It feels the tank tops that they're wearing are iconic. Like, how can you make a tank top iconic? Like but in this, it's all just crap. Like they're wearing like pleather. Like and I don't know if you're into Star Trek or not.
I mean, I watched Next Generation and I watched the movies, but I wouldn't say I'm a Trekkie, you know.
Yeah, like I did not include Star Trek in my list of movies that reminded me of this because I wasn't sure about the timeline of Klingons. Because, like, you know, again, like we got to go to 83, right? So anything prior to 83 is buzzing around in L. Ron Hubbard's brain, and maybe he's been spending all this time working on his super secret cult, and he's like, man, all these guys are putting out stories better than I was. Well, I can do a story still. And so it kind of could be, I don't know, I can't speak for him, but definitely the Klingons, like just their whole thing of like double crossing everybody and like
absolutely
being super violent and like giddy about killing people. And it's and even down to kind of like the extended forehead type thing. And it's a bad look though. It's bad. Like
each cyclo they introduced into the movie was more hideous than the previous one. Like John Travolta like looks normal by comparison, but each one that you meet is like progressively worse. And it's like, do they not just have like regular cyclos anymore? Is it like the older you get in this species, you get this like ballooned out double chin, or like they're all seemingly like very heavy smokers because all of their teeth are messed up really, really bad. But yeah, there's like, we had talked about several films that had popped in and were like, this is obvious that they're trying to sort of encapsulate what worked in this other property and make it work for them. And look, a lot of artists are going to borrow and get inspiration, but these were very, very cheap imitations.
Well, it's just like said, it's like cut and paste. It's not. It's not taking a lightsaber and being like, how can we? Episode 1, right? You get Darth Maul's double-sided lightsaber. That's taking an idea. I mean, from the same guy, but still taking an idea and having a oh wow moment in the theater when the second side came out for the first time and you were 9 years old. You were like, I never thought that could happen. This is the best day of my life. And so ideas should be recycled, I think. Like the whole thing of like, oh well, yeah, like, oh no, everything is I came up with this completely on my own. You can never even know that. You could write a screenplay tomorrow and it is the exact same thing as like a Belgian film from 1982 that you've never even heard of. And so we just have to admit that like at this point, millions of people have written stories. Not everything's going to be original. But you said it well with it's like magazine clippings trying to put it off as like, beautiful handwriting. And it's sloppy. It's chunky. I don't know if you remember, but like late 90s, early 2000s, chunky was like a style, like big, thick shoes, Janko jeans. And when I say chunky, I don't mean like overweight. It was just like
everything was way too big,
the big ball necklaces and like, very large items on your person. But it ages horribly here.
And I think they're trying to hide it by the fact that like everybody's dressed in black. I mean, they're of course copying the Matrix here. Like, hey, people like leather all of a sudden. All right, well, we're gonna dress them all up in black leather. And like
the Wachowskis took all the leather. All that's left is pleather. Sorry.
And they have these big like fat hands on. So it's like it's hard for them to like work with things like just to pick up a glass in the scene for Travolta when he's at the bar. I know he's supposed to be sloshed, but just reaching and grabbing something that's a prop for you to use in the scene like became very difficult to do. Like handling the guns that they're supposed to be marksmen with, it became very, very difficult to do. Just their physical movement was difficult because they had to I would have to guess that they stilted everybody. Everybody that was going to be in both those scenes, you're going to wear stilts. And then so you're not going to be able to functionally move with confidence in the way that sort of like where they shot Predator and they sort of used forced perspective to make him look like he's 8 feet tall. And they have their tricks to make it work that way. In this, they're like, nah, we're just going to put him on stilts.
Some of the forced, like I'll say like 2 of the forced perspective shots in this did look okay. But at that point, take them off the platform shoes. Like either do it or don't do it, but you can't do both. Like that doesn't. If you saw Gandalf, lift up his robe and you saw he was wearing platform shoes, you'd be like, well, why? He's just taller than them. It's sloppy. It's real sloppy.
It would be an interesting aside in the Lord of the Rings. Be like,
I know
you're already way taller than us. What's with the platforms, Gandalf?
Right. Yeah, the hands really bother me because there's a way of making. I mean, you saw Smoking causes cancer.
Yes. Smoking
Yes.
causes coughing.
Smoking causes. Right. There's a way of doing cheap effects in a charming way, and this movie is not trying to be that. This movie
No.
is, a saga of the year 3000. Man is an endangered species. It's trying to say something, and the hands are maybe like I can deal with the dreadlocks. I can deal with the costumes. The hands are unforgivable. There's no reason, because you tell me what's more expensive: prosthetic hands, like fake whole cover hand gloves, or press on nails.
Yeah.
Like,
gloves,
why
obviously.
why did their hands, I don't know, man, and it looks bad. It looks really, really, really bad. And the guns had potential to be interesting, but as someone who used to instruct shooting, I can tell you
Firearm safety was not a top priority of the Cyclos.
well, you are not hitting anything. There is no way to aim a gun that's double barrel sideways that you're kind of shooting from like chest height, like your arm. You aren't going to hit anything. Maybe the Cyclos' eyes are different, but all those humans grabbing those guns, no way. There's no way on Earth. And oh man. Okay, so when you first meet them in the mall and everyone's getting shot and things are getting cut in half by these invisible rays, Barry Pepper gets shot and then gets up and runs.
He got hit with stun mode.
Well, at that point, you see them change their guns to stun mode. But like, there's this thing in all movies that bothers me, where you show the villains to be so powerful, so powerful, but then for some reason, when it comes to the heroes, they're never as powerful as they are with all of the like tertiary characters. And I did love, though, the 8 panes of glass that Barry Pepper falls through.
That's a great scene, man. Like, of all the scenes in the movie,
crazy.
though, it's probably the best, because I went back and rewound it and I was like, wow, of all the artistic choices that they made that failed, they actually did this one well. And like you had mentioned, there is like a yellow light tone for the humans. Yeah. It's blue for the Cyclos. And as he crashes through this glass, it's a green background. So it's like, as their worlds are colliding and his world is shattering figuratively and literally. Yeah. It's all shot with shadow too. So it's all just like green and black. And it's done in a way that works very well, but it's so short-lived. It's like, where was that guy that set up that scene and made those choices for all of the other like muddy, bumbling decisions in the production design?
I wasn't sure, and I wanted to rewind it and watch it again, but honestly, the glass breaking goes on for so long. And when I watched this, I was like, this is 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if we were seeing him literally break through, several panes of glass, or if they were doing like a police story thing where they were just showing us the same stunt multiple times to be like, look, isn't this cool? Hey, let's just play it again.
Well, they didn't have the budget, so they're like, all right, well, we set up 3 angles and we're just going to show you the same 2 panes of glass breaking 6 times. But even that, I mean, Clarence Boddicker and RoboCop getting thrown around the warehouse by RoboCop through the windows over and over again. So it's like they don't present anything that is like clearly identifiable to the movie itself as a piece of sci-fi, other than like its legacy as being bad, right? Is there something where you look back on it and you're like, okay, this is the thing that is Battlefield or style wise? I think you could point to almost every other single sci-fi movie that we talked about, and there is like an identifiable sort of look that sort of speaks to what that movie is a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, the food was interesting. We've seen slop before. We saw slop just in the Matrix. This was a pretty like thick slop though.
It was so like corn chowder.
maybe they had the slop going for them. The gun a little bit. But I think, yeah, I don't think there's anything immediately recognizable or like iconic that you could point to that was like, oh, that was good.
Right.
Definitely the Cyclo's whole look is, I think anyone who's, invested in film would recognize what that's from, but not fondly.
Yeah. And the more of them we got on screen, the worse it got, because obviously they don't have the budget to like doll up every single one of the extras that needs to be in sort of the larger scale scenes. And I immediately went back to the original Super Mario Brothers movie with the little toadstool guys with the little heads
Sure.
and the big trench coats. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is them. They're
Right.
they're
Yeah, that's a
eight,
good
9 feet tall and they're on stilts and they can't really walk fast and they're just like waddling. But like, if that's the case, you have to be able to sort of like look at the dailies and be like, damn, if we shoot this in a wide shot, these guys don't look very menacing. They're like, all right,
Right.
well, throw some of Elron's music on there and
Right.
spice it up a bit.
Yeah, and again, like you look at Travolta's performance. I think parts of Forrest Whitaker's performance, and I think that they were on the edge of camp. Like I think they knew that maybe they weren't being completely menacing, but it does. Yeah, there's no cohesion, like you were saying. Like it's hard to make all of the Cyclos look as good, and then also like why don't they look identical? Like Travolta, for the most part, except for the two extremely long, like under chin, not even braids, just hair that comes straight out. He, for the most part, he just looks like a person. But then you
Yes.
meet Cyclos later that are like patrolling the streets or like during the battle, who look like aliens and like their faces are like crazy. What is that? Like whole new character design? Like
A lot
and it's
closer to
not,
Klingons.
yeah, and it's not cohesive throughout the rest of the characters. They're playing real fast and loose with just all of it. I don't know. I think that maybe Travolta thought Scientology as a group would come out more for the film, because of course, I mean, everyone's going to go see it and support the movie, and that's probably the majority of the people who did anyway. But it does feel like coasting on goodwill, like,
Yeah.
hey, people love sci-fi, people love me, people love, it'll be okay. And
Yeah. It does feel
clearly
that way. And then like
was
sort
not.
of and you and I had talked about this in other sci-fi films of how like we're dealing with aliens. Like, give us aliens. Don't give us like 8
Yes.
foot tall like human beings, right?
Yeah.
And like with these characters, not only are the main ones that we're dealing with not particularly alien, they're just like us. They're like scheming,
Yes.
backstabbing. They work shitty jobs that they don't like. And then even the one dude is like, I'm complaining about my horrible multiple marriages. I'm like, so you just like amplified all of like the shitty humanness and made that them. You don't give them anything alien to really do other than be tall and wear leather, and you kind of like botch that part of it as well. So you can understand the audience not really like having the goodwill or the grace to extend to that kind of decision, because if you're going to tell us a story like realistically about human problems, tell us the human people's story, because at least Barry is over there trying, and at least like that's something that we can connect to a lot more than spending at least half of this film in sort of like the inner workings of the Cyclo business dealings,
The bureaucracy of
of mining
gold
Earth.
mining, question mark. The aliens are not alien enough, and they're too stupid to have conquered
They're
hundreds
so
of
stupid.
galaxies. In Planet of the Apes have a different breed of human on their hand, and that's why they treat them how we treat apes now. It's like, okay, we have some ape psychologists who are like, oh, look, they can communicate and they can be taught. And most people are like, no, that's crazy. if you walked up to most people on the street and you're like, can an ape learn to read and write? They'd be like, probably not, right? So it works because you have different humans. In Battlefield Earth, it ain't different humans. They have society, they have history, they have culture, they have religion. They talk to each other. The humans in Planet of the Apes, they can't talk. It explains everything. You're telling me the Cyclones have never noticed two people talking to each other?
It just sounds.
They have a language that they speak. And you're also telling me, like, when Barry Pepper finally starts the revolution, whatever, all the people are like standing up and like yelling in their cages. These people have just been like chilling in their cages. There's never been any kind of organized like chanting. Like it's really bad. Like that whole part of it. You need the Dr. Zira character from Planet of the Apes to like make this make sense, because all you have is the Dr. Zaius character in Travolta who's like the man animals, or what, the rat brain man animals, whatever he calls them. You need someone as like the go-between, and there is no go-between, but it makes them look so stupid. And don't tell me that Planet Earth was taken over in 9 days.
9 minutes. Wasn't it 9 minutes?
Was it 9 minutes? Okay, maybe it was 9 minutes. But then show me these unorganized, untrained, like forest people putting up a fight and winning. It doesn't make like you need like the Matrix has a good switcheroo, right? The third Matrix. Spoiler alert for Matrix Revolutions, but there's a switcheroo that takes place because that system is in complete control. There's no way out. And by the way, Neo, you're the 13th or 14th version of this to happen. And we've destroyed Zion, whatever. Okay. And so he doesn't overcome them like physically. Like it's not like Zion suddenly gets better at fighting. He makes a deal with the machine because of the Agent Smith virus. And so they overcome it on like a technicality.
Yes.
This one, they're just like, we want it more. It's so bad. It's so dumb.
They got into a flight simulator and learned how to fly all those hover jets in 7 days, and were all better pilots than all of the Cyclos.
Right. And all of the armies of all of Earth when the Cyclos first appeared.
Yeah, so I guess like if you're approaching it from sort of the perspective of man is intelligent and they're going to find solutions to problems, and you're trying to present that like, yes, man is smarter than this enemy that they're being faced with, and even Barry Pepper, who has no education, like his baseline intelligence or his capacity to learn is higher than any of these evil Cyclos that we meet. And like he spends 5 minutes in the learning machine and he's already smarter than Forrest Whitaker's character. So
right.
I was like, wait a second, they have a learning machine where it just downloads the universe's knowledge into them, and not every single member of their race gets that downloaded in, and we get these morons running the planet.
Right.
Like John Travolta has this machine and still doesn't even use it because he hasn't been able to strategize his way off of this planet or do anything spectacular or impress the higher ups at all.
Well, he messed with the senator's daughter.
He did. I know. And again, another just like a very like human joke. Well, I didn't know that she was your daughter. So,
Right.
Politics are coming into this. And it cheaps out in so many of those ways, unfortunately. But since it was the year 2000, let's take a look at the trailer and see what they thought they were selling us, 23 years ago.
I will be seeing this trailer for the first time since I would have been a kid, because I remember when this movie came out, and I remember the ire with which it was met.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I heard more about this movie as the disaster after it came out than beforehand. And it's like I had watched The Matrix, I'm a big Gattaca guy. That was 97. Fifth Element was 97 as well. So like my formative sci-fi years were right before this, and still I wasn't like, yeah, I want to go check this out.
Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from our sponsor. Well, hello there, movie friends. Are you tired of eating handfuls of bland slop? Or maybe that boring movie theater popcorn? Well, spice things up with a few dashes of Berry Pepper's Berry's Pepper. The low-profile, pocket-sized pepper mill makes it the perfect solution to boring food problems on the go. Berry's Pepper is made from the finest peppercorns that Berry Pepper can buy, and each bottle is filled painstakingly by Berry Pepper himself. So add some extra flavor to your everyday and get buried in pepper with Berry's Pepper from Berry Pepper. This product is not affiliated in any way with Berry Pepper, so please don't sue me. And now, back to the show.
That's Gattaca. Talk about great design.
Yeah, they filmed a lot of that actually out here in LA. That solar array is in California. They filmed at Cal Poly also out here.
Advanced technology could only put up a measly 9-minute fight.
There you go, 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
Okay, lots of B-roll here.
Man is an endangered species.
I guess that's supposed to be like what sells us. Like in the future, we're gonna be endangered.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on too.
That laugh.
Strangely timed, evil laughter. Wow, that trailer had nothing.
Yeah,
Nope.
almost nothing.
Yeah, what was that? What is the next? Oh, I don't even know.
Angela's Ashes trailer.
This is a 1 minute 24-second video, but 50 seconds of it was the actual trailer for Battlefield Earth, and it ain't really giving us very much. It's John Travolta. Men are endangered species in the future, and when else?
Was Independence Day?
94, I want to say.
Honestly, you show me
94,
a science fiction. I think it was 95. You show me a science fiction movie. You show me fighter jets flying through, aliens. That's all I need to see for me. I'm not like, oh, what's this movie about? Battlefield Earth. I know what it's about. It's about a fight for Earth. Okay, that's fine. I was confused about the fighter jets though, because
they've been sitting around for 1,000 years.
That's not how planes work. I'm pretty sure planes are worked on pretty much around the clock to be maintained. They can fly for a certain amount of time, and then they have to not fly and be, fixed. And then the other thing was the nuclear bomb. I was like, what would happen to a nuclear bomb after 1,000 years?
Does it get more nuclear?
Does it? Right. Like what? Like if you touch it, does your hand just melt? Like they're just walking around with it like it's a cookie jar or something.
Meanwhile, they just learned about nukes that day. Right. A few minutes earlier, they're like, oh my God, there's this thing. It's a nuke. We got to go get it. We know where it is.
Which okay, I hate being the plot hole police, but
shit, you're going to retire after this.
I just think
you're going to give out so many citations.
Yeah, I'm about to break the biggest case. Okay, so Travolta brings him to the library, which was a scene that I wanted to like more. It was interesting. It had a lot of potential. All we see is
swells. He's reading the Declaration of Independence.
Right. That's the only thing that we see, and then it's just all right, let's go now. But he tells them look, this is all that's left, and we defeated you in 9 days. But they all know that man had flying machines. Of course they can operate mining machines. That's the crux of the whole secret scheme is well, if they knew back on Cyclone that we were training men to mine, it's yeah, you idiots. You were there. You came to civilization. We had the internet. BattlefieldEarth.net. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming you came sometime after the year 2000, right? And so that doesn't make any sense. That's really, really silly.
We'll take it one step further. If they're not using slave labor, why do they have human prisoners at all?
I think that they're using slave labor for like
so they know that they can teach them some things, and
manual labor.
Okay, I mean,
like
they're swinging
equipment.
a hammer, but
because they say the thing about dogs.
Like, they said dogs had more utility.
They weren't as good at manual labor as the humans were, which was surprising. It's like, did you try to have dogs? And again, it's like they're idiots. They're dumb. Like, anyway.
Well, because they invade in the year 2000, we'll say. I don't remember if they actually said what year they invaded, but for all intents and purposes, year 2000. So at the time you invade, like who the competition is, right?
Right.
Yeah, you defeat them. And then maybe, I guess, you enslave them to do like menial tasks, house cleaning chores, like whatever small task you can get them to do. You feed them slop. But over the course of 1,000 years, like, what the species is. Like, do you just think that they just progressively like got so dumb that by the time we meet John Travolta's character, like he is supposedly a genius, but doesn't even understand that like human beings have the capacity to maintain like their own spoken language between one another. So they're asking us as the audience to really like make some gigantic leaps, and they're like, it would have been one thing if they're like going to give us a little like breadcrumb here and there and like, here, use your imagination to sort of like fill in the gaps, but they like overstep and try to over explain it. And that's kind of like where the error comes in that trying to explain it, you've kind of like broken all of the logic that you may have been able to latch on to that, it wasn't very much, but like you could have maybe had something.
Right. And like if you say we don't train the humans, it's illegal to train the humans on machinery because they are adept and they will fight back.
They revolted against us once already. Yeah, that kind of thing.
That's the Matrix. Well, that's the Matrix. The Matrix is, we give them the illusion of freedom because the batteries were all dying. Without being plugged into the Matrix, the human body and spirit just died. Right. And so that's why this whole thing exists. And with Planet of the Apes, you have man is devolving at the same time as apes are evolving. And, you hit a point where they're the same and then they pass each other. And you're on the other side of that where most apes don't remember a time when humans could talk. And so that explains that. This is just like, we know your entire history, but you eat rats. Like, also, like, I'm the prison guard for this entire planet, but I don't know anything about my prisoners. Like, you're secure, he's like the security. It's anyway.
Well, I guess like if you're approaching it from the perspective of he has all the knowledge of the book, and say he is bringing sort of the knowledge of that reading to the character portrayal, there's a lot of his backstory that doesn't get translated down to us. Like maybe he is so arrogant that he gets, busted back on Cyclo or one of these other colonies and he gets knocked down to Earth and he hasn't taken the time to learn human history beyond that they were defeated 1,000 years ago. Maybe all of those things you could have very easily worked out with a word here or a word there, or like the 20-second scene where there's just one added sentence that sort of gives us something to latch onto. But again, it's like, it seems like you said, it's like sort of goodwill filmmaking where he's just like, hey, I'm John Travolta, just latch on to my charisma and it's going to carry us all the way to the finish line. And unfortunately, not so much.
Right. Also, you're Barry Pepper, you're living in this tribe that has cave paintings and a history, an oral history going back for a very, very, very long time. And you're less than a day's journey away from an entire city.
They're just like, no, those are the ruins. We can't go there.
you don't know anything about the alien. You've never seen spaceships flying over, like,
Because they just said what, they're gods? Or no? Were they not referring to them when they said the gods?
So their belief is that the gods left them, and that's why the demons came from the sky. So they think of them as demons. But he's like, I don't believe that they're. You've never seen one. You've never seen. If he was like, if the Cyclones were like stationed in New York, and they were living in California, and he had to make a 3-year walk across the country and then finally encounter them. It's like, okay, but he's walking for like, I mean, he's on his horse, maybe the second saddest horse death in film history after the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would have wanted like get like less humans, strip it down, make it about like Barry is going out, he's venturing out to try to help the last of his people. Him and his horse are like the only things that each other have, and then when that death happens, it's much more impactful. Like there's so many like small tweaks that could have been done to this, and like you said, it's 2 hours. Like I was shocked, like even in the middle of watching it I was like, oh my god, this is really 2 hours. Like what even has happened? I've watched this movie for an hour. I don't know what's happened at this point. I was like, I know that I'm laughing when they're laughing because it's just ridiculous that they're laughing in the first place. It's just cute evil laughter.
right
And I'm like, okay, they seem to be enjoying themselves somehow.
Every time they were drinking the green goo, I was like, okay, all right, I wish I was drinking green goo right now too.
Yeah, and like you get that scene at the bar, which is very much like they steal a little bit from Star Wars and sort of the bar design, but him with his like, Klingon adjacent homies at the bar is very, very Star Trek especially from the 90s, because like in Next Generation, you're spending a lot of time sort of like on the ship, and they have a lot of different races and species of different, what are they, Federation cadets or whatever. And so there is times where they're at the bar, they're just like socializing, and that is a thing that I liked about that show. But here it's like, he just basically yells at the one bartender and then just like gets shit-faced, and he's like, can I get 3 of these to go? And he doesn't like, he just like fills up these little silos with the green fluid, and then
it's like the cups that they give you when you go to Six Flags.
Yeah, but at least those have a lid and a straw. And Travolta's trying to pick it up with his gloves, and it's like he's about to drop. I'm sure they filmed that scene a couple of times because it was clumsy.
His girlfriend's tongue was, how the human brain, when you smell something from your childhood or from a long time ago, it like instantly brings you back to that memory or that moment or that person. That ton, the computer animation of that ton, and that just the whole idea, the look of it, the attitude of it, I was like instantly transported back, and it just felt like it was so cheesy and dumb. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is great, but it was like, oh, ooh, like I remember when this would be like considered like cool, man, and like, the sunglasses lowered down, like she's got a crazy ton, bro. Like it was so bad. It's
bad, and it's also still one of the better parts of the movie somehow, because at least that is making a decided choice to be like, there was a time where this seems like it would be cool, and that's the reason that we're putting it in. But it seems like a lot of the other choices were not done for,
and it's alien.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it seems like a lot of the other choices in the movie were not done with even that in mind. Like, shit, at least just make it look cool.
Right. Yeah. A lot of things needed a second pass. A lot of things needed someone to stand up and really second guess things. This movie is like, you ever do a Rubik's Cube?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever completed one, but I've played with a Rubik's Cube. I know what it is.
So before you solve a Rubik's Cube, it looks like you have not solved a Rubik's Cube. And then you just turn 1, 2, and everything slides into place. That's what this movie is like. You turn one thing to the left, you turn one thing to the right, one thing to the left, and then it all would have lined up to be a much, much better story. There is actually something really alien And I found myself really liking it, even though it was kind of cheesy. And that was the language slave on the hologram.
Yeah, like, hey, this is a nice way to inject not only a new species of alien that we haven't seen, but to give us some backstory without just making it pure exposition in order to like get the audience to understand. It was one of the more adeptly handled moments throughout the whole film.
Yeah, I really was like, this is cool sci-fi stuff. Like, and again, it's like we've seen this type of thing before, and I don't know. I thought it really stood out to me as something that was done well in a sea of things that were not done
Yeah.
well.
Well, you consider like how long is that scene? 30 seconds, maybe
30, 45 seconds. Yeah.
And in that scene, we learn that the Cyclos have colonized and enslaved other planets, other species. And in that, they've basically massacred all of those other species. And that this one creature from this other species has survived long enough to become a slave that recorded like the hologram for this learning program. And that this slave also has the awareness to tell, I think it was Barry Pepper in that moment, yeah, I'm probably dead by the time that you're reading this because of all these other things that have happened. But you know what? I've got nothing else to do right now other than to like instruct this program. So it really like it gave you so much more actual story than the other hour 55 minutes really in the rest of the movie. It's like it could have been so much more economical with its storytelling, because obviously there are moments like that are like, hey, we did a good job with this one particular thing. And then it's so weird that it doesn't seem to translate into the vast majority of it.
Yeah, again, to bring up the Dr. Zero point of like what makes the story work, in the Matrix, you have the Oracle who has one foot in both camps. It's like, hey, I'm a program. And this is how the programs think. But also, I know the humans, and this is how the humans think. And Barry Pepper is saying, like, oh, I'm having all these images flash by so quickly. Guess what? That's your character. That's your go-between guy. And you can have scenes that last for 5 minutes. You go inside Barry Pepper's mind. That dude is in his mind and they're talking to each other. His consciousness has been uploaded. And you know what? He's angry about it. And so once he's in Barry Pepper's mind, he's like, now I'm going to teach you how to defeat these guys. Whatever. I don't know. Something, but yeah, more than just a little tiny little.
Yeah. Well, if you were to treat that hollow character as like, I mean, it's before. So, I mean, it's after the Matrix where AI is run rampant, but it's sort of before like AI has become what it is now, sort of in pop culture. But this, if you were to treat the hollow character as like the stored knowledge of his people, like an artificial intelligence, like, I mean, I know you don't like Man of Steel, but the way that they sort of treat Jor-El in that, I mean, they do it in Superman too, where it's like his AI is sort of present in the Fortress of Solitude. It sort of allows a relationship between that third party character, like you said, the go-between, and Barry Pepper to have a dialogue of like, this is what happened to my people. I know I'm just an AI, but I want to try to help you not have this happen to your people. And it gives you something to latch onto as the audience emotionally, where, like you said, there's a love interest, but like, is there really? Like, he spends the vast majority of the film away from her. I mean, yeah, he says like, she's my woman. And I guess it just felt like this thing of like, he doesn't feel macho enough unless we give him like a woman to fight for. And so we're just going to shoehorn that sort of in here, even though it doesn't really land.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense when they bring her back and they're like, oh, we got a bomb around her neck. All right, well, now we can manipulate him. But then guess what? They can manipulate him with the other people because he also tries to save the other people. So you don't even need her as like a plot device, because you could just put the bomb on anyways. You could put the bomb on his own neck.
Yeah, and it's like there's not even like a gratuitous love scene or anything in there that they needed her there for. It's just like, we don't know how to do this. There's a lot of neck grabbing. That is fair.
Johnny Goodboy or whatever.
Johnny Goodboy Tyler.
Johnny Goodboy, which is kind of a name. Sci-fi, man. I read a ton of sci-fi novels growing up. I don't know why, but I was like huge into like Orson Scott Card, and Isaac Asimov, and as a kid, like Bruce Covell. And I love science fiction, and like the names are the names are always one of the dumbest, silliest things that you really have to just go along for the ride with. Like everyone always brings up, in Star Wars, you have like Jabba the Hutt, you have Emperor Palpatine, and then you have Luke, or you have Ben.
Mhm.
The names in this, and then all the other names are just made up gobbledygook. Like, and you kind of just have to roll with it. But Johnny Goodboy is truly an inspired bad science fiction name. But yeah, dude, that dude wouldn't be able to talk. He's getting picked up by the neck 10 times.
At least.
Like,
and when he's not getting picked up, he's getting like manhandled around his neck pretty often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the most neck action maybe of any film I've ever seen.
Pound for pound, most neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got Turl, Kerr, Parson Staffer, what do you say, Planet Ship, which is like
Planet Ship.
He doesn't even get a name. It's sort of like his designation, because there's another character named Assistant Planet Ship. So I'm assuming that those are just titles. They didn't bother to write names. But you've got fairly normal human names for the most part: Carlo, Sammy, Mickey. But then we get a nice cameo, not even a cameo, it's an actual role for Richard Tyson from Kindergarten Cop, who's like, Kindergarten Cop is the only other movie that I know him from. But he's just got this sort of very easily distinguishable face. And so when I saw him, I'm like, oh my God, this is the other movie that he was in. And it seems like such a far fall to go from being like the prime villain in Kindergarten Cop to being a supporting woods person in Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, so
he must have pissed somebody off.
In the book, they're supposed to travel from America to like Scotland, and that's where they encounter that. His name is Robert the Fox, right? So we're supposed to be like Robert the Bruce. I'm guessing is what he was going for.
Seems that way.
Yeah. But yeah, man. That really felt, that whole like clan coming out. It all just feels super, super rushed. And like, at that point in the movie, I was like, okay, how much time is left? And I really tried to not check, because, something I tell my kids all the time is like, look, knowing how much time is left ain't going to help, like you got to just do it. Like, it's not going to help your attitude, and your attitude is what's going to make this a good experience or not, raking the leaves or doing your math homework. And so I really tried to hold off. And then I finally did check the time, and I had 20 minutes left. And that 20 minutes was like, it made it worse, because I was like, how is there still, like, I know what 20 minutes is. It ain't a lot of time. How is this still going on?
It's funny you should say that, because I sort of made it to about that same point, 23 to 25 minutes left in the movie. And like, I was zoning out sort of towards the end of it last night. And I was like, you know what? I'm watching it, but something's just not sticking. I'm going to come back and I'm going to watch it today. And so earlier today, I went, sat down on the couch, turned it on, like fast forward until the last thing I, remembered vividly enough to be like, okay, this is where I left off. And there was still 25 minutes. And what I saw on the screen, I too was like, how on earth is there still 25 minutes left of this movie? It's just like the city falling for a good 15 minutes.
The dome cracking. Yeah. The dome. Yeah.
And it's like, first they blow up the dome, and then it's like, oh, wait, that didn't like work properly. We shattered some of the windows, but not enough of them. So hold on. We need to then do a second explosion on the dome. And hey, Kim Coates, though, got to shout out Kim Coates, because I know you haven't seen it, but he's also in Waterworld, and he's the sweet, sweet paper guy in Waterworld. And I'm so happy to see him in this because he's a very good character actor, and he actually like isn't bad in this either. It's just you don't really get much. It's a much meatier role than Waterworld, and he's like what, the number 2 behind Barry in this, so he's like his right hand man. So he gets a lot to do, at least from the human side of things, and he has a pretty heroic exit as well. Him and I guess it was Sammy, the other guy who detonates the nuke on Cyclo and lights their whole atmosphere on fire. And you think for a warmongering culture, they would have done some test explosions that probably would have burned their atmosphere before that nuke went off.
That guy. Well, first Kim Coates, when he first shows up, I was like, this dude looks so much like Robin Williams that it's distracting me. And then the dude with the bomb, Sammy, I was like, wait a second. Is that I can't remember his name. Eric. Who is the guy who was supposed to play Marty McFly?
Eric Roberts?
Eric Stoltz.
No, Eric Stoltz, sorry, yes.
I was like, is this Eric Stoltz in Battlefield Earth? And I never realized it. Holy moly. And then afterwards I looked it up. I was like, that was definitely not Eric Stoltz.
It's definitely not Eric Roberts either.
Yeah, no.
But Eric Roberts did have an interesting movie come out like a week ago, and I was like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to see that.
I could have seen Eric Roberts in this movie for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's made stuff like this since then, to be fair. He was in, what is it, Ape versus Mega Lizard? Or something like that.
Hey, I believe it.
Super Chimp versus Mega Ape? No, there's a lizard and an ape. It's like Kong vs. Godzilla, but made for, a fraction.
Eric Roberts, I think.
He's a great actor. He just needs the role to allow it.
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, like, Barry Pepper, I wrote down in my notes, I was like, Barry Pepper deserves better, especially like big starring role. Like,
he does.
He really doesn't do a lot of starring roles. I mean, he's coming off of Saving Private Ryan, and he was great in that movie.
When was 25th Hour? Was that before or after this?
That was after, because that's after 9/11.
Gotcha.
But Green Mile, 1999. Yeah, 25th Hour was 2002. So good job, Spike Lee, taking a chance on Barry Pepper.
Right? He saw through the mud as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because, again, like, you shoot this different. All right, so if you didn't know what Dutch angles were prior to watching this film, I would say watch the first 20 minutes of Battlefield Earth. And it's odd because some of those like hyper stylized choices in terms of how it's shot and how it's edited, they're really front loaded in this movie. And so you're getting it just like boom, 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 boom. And I'm not surprised that, I read a lot of people like, I just walked out of this movie. I'm not surprised at all, because it's just, as we're like establishing the story and we're trying to ramp everything up, it just looks so strange. And all the strange editing choices are like, right in there. And yeah, it ain't good. The other horrible effect is when they think that they can fly, which again is like, how stupid are these cyclones?
Right?
Like, you think humans can fly because you saw one almost jump off a cliff. Okay. So anyway, when they drop the dude down the ravine, I am a very proud bad photoshopper. That's like one of my favorite hobbies. I would almost wager that I could make a better looking dude falling down a ravine shot. I think it's the worst shot in the film. It's bad. It's real bad.
I think if I were to give you, let's see, what do you think the guys that did digital effects were making salary wise at that time? Enough, right? I think if I gave you that money, you could dedicate the time to probably make a better looking one. But that's why I said, like, they're mixing in weird backdrops where it's like, this is painted, this is definitely green screen. Okay, now we're just like shooting in the middle of nowhere, and it's like doesn't have any real impact. They got a lot of B-roll earlier in the film, like nice landscape scenes, but they never really like translated that to the rest of the film. And it's weird that a lot of films that sort of maybe not focus on, but definitely subtly hang their hat on sort of like the beauty of the landscape cinematography seem to interweave it into the story in a way that sort of like helps the pacing, or it sort of like sets up certain story moments. It's utilized with effect and intent, where here it's like, no, we shot all of our B-roll on like a flyover, and then we're just rolling the credits over it, which I don't even think they do that either. There's a little bit of voiceover. I think one thing pops up and says it's 3000 AD and man is a endangered species, and then just fly over, and then that's the end of it.
You think you're going to get, a whole Blade Runner 2049 huge opening explanation of what's going on, and it's like, nope, that's it. There's just two lines. I'm a big believer in like sci-fi in small doses. Always is easier for us to accept than like a whole huge world, because if you build a whole huge world, it has to be cohesive, and one person or a team of 5 people, they can make costumes or gadgets that are cohesive and there's a theme and it all seems like it works. But when you're operating with so many different people and so many different people making decisions, it's very hard. Like, again, like Fifth Element, Jean-Paul Gaultier, he had a hand in every single one of the costumes in the opera scene, and I think they said it was 500 costumes. That's insane. Like, that's crazy for one person to even want to take that on when they're already doing all of the other stuff. So it's like the movie podcast 70 millimeter. It was the first time I heard the phrase lo-fi sci-fi. And totally, it almost always works better. You have Star Wars, where that's a whole lived-in world, but then you have like Star Wars Episode 1, where when you try to include way more elements, you kind of just see the flaws. It's like Rick and Morty, right? Like Rick and Morty is a cartoon. Fine, you can have all these bleeping, blopping,
whatever you can think of,
right? All this different stuff. But if you tried to do an episode of Rick and Morty on film,
oh my god,
people,
I want to see that now.
It wouldn't be. It's like your brain rejects it, like it's like the same reason why your brain rejects like bad effects. It's just like, no, I can see like too many of the seams and too many of the lines. And so less lines, less seams, a more accessible experience for the audience. And Battlefield Earth was just like, nah, like you said, strip this down, which I think is the answer to so many movies, right? So many obviously bloated films. Strip it down. Give us more Barry Pepper in the wild. Give us more him and the horse. Give us more training with Eric the Fox. He just shows up and they're like, let's do it. Show us more of that stuff. Show us, the Matrix scenes inside of Neo's head where it's just a white background and then all the gun racks come flying out at them. Like, give us time away from the dreadlocks and the fake hands, and I think not Dutch angles and not color filters. And I think that we should remake this movie. I think that we should get a group of,
I think we could. That's the crazier thing. I mean,
25 people.
Yeah, let's reach out to Barry Pepper. He can play Terrell this time.
Sure.
You think Forrest would be interested in getting a second crack at Kerr?
He can play, at this point, he's old enough, he can play Planet Ship. And then Travolta can play the president of Cyclone.
Oh, that's true. It is the sequel
who comes
that's
down
coming
for a
out,
few minutes.
Well, to your point about sort of how we as people like process things through like our visual communication style, like I think everybody's going to have a slightly different threshold for sort of the amount of things that you'll just be like, okay. And so when you're talking about less is more, lo-fi, sci-fi, if I ask you to be like, here, suspend your disbelief and accept like these 3 things here that are going to be part of this that sort of heighten the sci-fi element that I want to get across. It's like, okay, each one of those is fine. But then you give me 100.
Yeah.
The odds of me picking up on one that are like so offensively off-putting that it sort of like the house of cards comes falling apart at that point, because now I'm seeing all the flaws and all the other things. It's a lot easier to just be, here's a small choice to look at, and it's just a slight punch up. And it's like, that's one of the things that like Blade Runner did really well. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love Gattaca is because it only pushes the envelope a little bit down the line. It's only asking you to suspend your disbelief, to acknowledge like a couple of little things that are not too far off in the future anyway. And really good sci-fi films understand how to sort of use their budget to do those things well. And, you know, we've talked about The Matrix several times, and I think one of the primary reasons why The Matrix works, even though there is this like other world, is that the vast majority of The Matrix is spent in what's perceivable as our own reality. And so when they flash to like, oh, the sky is fried and Morpheus is sitting there in the chair and all that, it's like, okay, you get a glimpse of that, it's over. And then, oh, here's the egg harvesting, you get a glimpse of that, it's over. We're not spending a ton of time in that world. Even when they get Neo out and they're on the Nebuchadnezzar and they're sort of in the real world, we spend most of our time still with all of the humans there in their little ship. And then we get a little flashes of here's the Sentinels and here's like the bigger city outside of that. They don't, and they piecemeal you in along the way. So we start small, and then the further the movie goes, the sort of bigger that internal bubble of real world gets as we go. So that by the time we reach the end, those 2 things have sort of overlapped into one bubble at that point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you take a movie like Arrival.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most beloved and successful sci-fi films of the last decade or whenever. I don't remember what year it came out, but you know, we don't really go past that glass barrier like into the world, and for a long time you're seeing the aliens like really shrouded, and it's all things that we're kind of used to. And anyway, this movie doesn't do that, and it should pull back. Pull back a lot. You can tell a story about aliens taking over the planet and humans being subjected, and you know, I'm not laughing at almost every other frame.
Well, like, because we as the audience are supposed to feel as close as we can to the human side of the story. And if the humans are supposed to be afraid of these things that they perceive are demons, you can't then show us these demons being morons and like just the shittiest version of actual people. And then the big moment where it's like, you really need to fear me because I'm such a good marksman. He's like shooting between his legs. He's like, you know, he's doing the most ridiculous stuff with this gun, and they only show him blow off the one cow leg. And then it's like, we just have to imagine all of the other cows. Like, if it would have been him kneecapping all the cows instead, that's a more effective, albeit still hilarious scene, but at least that communicates it, because instead we're just watching John Travolta put the gun behind his back or behind his head or upside down, and it's like it wears thin so quickly.
Are you shocked that after that, John Travolta didn't say, "Ha, ground beef"?
He should have. That would have made it a little bit better. But you had sent me the, I guess, original music that L. Ron Hubbard had composed. And so you sent me, I think, one, and then I listened to a handful from this album, which is Space Jazz, the official soundtrack of the book.
And so much.
So I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get in, because this is on YouTube, but I want to play this one song at least. And the reason I want to do that is because I feel at its core that L. Ron Hubbard really wanted to make musicals. And in listening to this, I'm like, Battlefield Earth, the musical, strikes me as a much better idea than Battlefield Earth, the movie right now. But you tell me. This is... Which one is it? Is this Johnny? Yeah. Why was this not like used as the soundtrack for the film either? But this is straight from a musical.
Had they used this instead,
you've got 1,800 different tones in this movie. You might as well add one more in there.
well, had they used this, I think it would have made the movie make a little bit more sense and tell us kind of what we're looking at. But I fully believe they were trying to be serious.
Yeah, and I think that's where it sort of loses its tangibility for us, is that you have this guy made this music for this book. His vision of this can't be all that serious if this is the accompaniment. So when envisioning Battlefield Earth as a film and like trying to make it super serious and trying to make it like dark, and then even the humor, I don't know is ever intentionally funny, but it is one of the probably most unintentionally funny movies that you could put on, because it's just disaster from start to finish with the jokes that they try to layer in here.
Right.
But this is a jam. I like this. I could see this like with a nice dance number attached to it.
I don't know enough about jazz. I'm not sure this is jazz.
Yeah, I mean, look, you put like a horn in there, and that's a clarinet, maybe a flute.
You know, it's funny because they say like, oh, you know, he composed this. I don't even know about that. At this point, he was in the throes of Scientology. He had people. You're gonna tell me that he actually made this? Like, I don't buy it.
I like that it says played by leading artists. So like he gets credit for the compositions, but they brought in like actual reputable artists to come in and sing and play the instruments and all that. This seems like a better sales pitch to get people into Scientology than the whole Xenu thing, though.
Right.
Just come on, we listen to cool space jazz, we make bad movies. This does go on for a while, though. I may have to edit this whole part out. We'll see if I get an angry letter in the mail.
We have a whole, like,
is L. Ron Hubbard still alive?
Here. Oh, no.
Okay, good. Well, he's not going to get mad at me. He'd probably be happy that we're playing his jazz music. And again, this is on YouTube. This isn't something that I, like, sourced illegally. I'm just replaying something that somebody else probably sourced illegally onto the internet.
Right.
So the lyrics are just Johnny, Johnny, Johnny boy for a good 6 minutes straight.
Yeah, and I wish all of this stuff wasn't connected to all-time creep L. Ron Hubbard, because like I love that. One of my top 4 favorite movies on Letterboxd is this film called Gentlemen Broncos, and it's by the husband and wife who made Napoleon Dynamite, Jared and Jerusha Hess.
Okay.
And it's about like a homeschool kid who writes sci-fi, and he goes to this like writing camp, and his like sci-fi hero of an author steals his story. And so, you know, that's like the plot of it. But there's intercut are all of these scenes from his book. And like the music that was just playing is like the whole vibe of like his sci-fi book. And the character in that is played by Sam Rockwell. It's my favorite Sam Rockwell role ever. He is so over the top and zany and crazy in it. But my point is this: I wish that L. Ron Hubbard wasn't connected to this, because Space Jazz would be like my favorite album ever.
I mean, it's definitely a vibe. So if you're in the mood for some space jazz, then check it out. But don't get indoctrinated. I think now's probably a good time to do some trivia.
Time for trivia.
Sure.
Let's go. Question number 1. This movie won all 7 Razzies that it was nominated for at the 2001 Razzie Awards, which at the time was a tie with Showgirls, another movie I've done on this show, for the most all time. However, it later went on to win 2 additional honorary Razzies.
Yep.
For what?
I did look this up, so I'm not trying to pretend that I'm like the world's Razzie leading expert. I don't remember both of them. I believe the first one was Worst of the Decade.
Correct. Worst picture of the decade from 2000 to 2009.
And then the second one, I think, was another like anniversary one.
It was.
Was it like a lifetime achievement for John Travolta?
It was fairly close. This movie won worst drama of our first 25 years at the Razzie. Yeah. So you're right that it was a secondary anniversary one. Yeah, 2 points on that. Close enough. Along with being considered one of the worst movies ever, the producer, Franchise Pictures, was sued for what?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get to that.
Yeah. Okay, so I can't remember exactly what the answer is, but I think they were sued for like lying either about the budget or about the box office.
The budget.
Yeah, they inflated the budget,
mm-hmm.
which is odd. Like, I'm not sure why you want to do that other than to count. I mean, I know why. For tax purposes, you count a much bigger loss, but
they knew it was coming.
They went out of I'm pretty sure they went out of business, right?
They did, yeah, because they had to pay back, I think, 130 something million at the end. But fraud. They claimed the budget was 74 million when it was actually 44. So
that's kind of honestly,
yeah, it's huge.
I can see this movie costing more than 44 million only because of how much they're doing here, but at the same time it looks so bad that if you told me it was 20 million, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, but when you start to see that like the financials behind the scene and how many different like production companies sort of like kick this around and then the fudging of the numbers, and it's like, okay, did $44 million actually get spent on this movie? And Barry Pepper had anecdotally said that, the majority of the budget went to Travolta, but I guess like if he reduced his cost to 10, that's still about 25% of the overall budget for this film is just going to one actor. And I mean, is he 25% of what makes this movie? Well, I'm not going to say good, but
right. No,
is he 25% of the overall movie's value?
I think so. Honestly, I mean, it sucks. Like, I wouldn't say value. He's 25% of the movie or more,
All right. So at least, I mean, I guess they got what they paid for on that. But there was also, I think Barry Pepper had said that the food was so bad on set that Travolta flew in his personal chef to cook for the cast and crew. So at least the money that Travolta got went back towards the cast and not just into somebody's pocket or didn't get embezzled like that other mystery 30 million that disappeared. But yeah, question number 3, a little bit more technical question. How many times is the term man animal used throughout the film?
I'm going to say 20.
That's pretty close. I mean, it was 28 times, at least listed. I didn't count them all myself, so I can't like fact check that number, but I still feel like that's too low. I feel like they say man animal in every sentence.
Yes. It's that, and then once they see them eat the rats, it's rat brain.
Yeah. So at least they pivot. But if we combined the man animals and rat brains, we're probably at near 100. Because they have to start talking to each other a lot more, and then he doesn't bother to give him a name. He just calls him Rat Brain for the next hour and a half in the film. But we don't even learn Johnny's name in this movie until about 40 something minutes into the film. So it's like, here's your main character. Not only is his name Johnny Goodboy Tyler, we're not going to tell you that. He'll be Johnny, and then he'll be Goodboy at some point about halfway through.
Right.
Bear with us, people. We're making a bad sci-fi movie here. But like oddly, like even though the Razzies like, famously trashed it, and that, Barry Pepper is like, I wish I would have known I would have won, then I would have been there to accept it. But it's still listed as top 10 best bad films ever made in the actual official Razzie movie guide. So I don't know like what that means. Like
Right.
when you say it's a best bad movie and you're the Razzies, like what does that actually add up to?
Right.
I don't have the Razzie movie guide, so I won't know for sure. But hey,
Yeah.
you made a top 10 list of best something.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to count for a little bit.
Yeah, the Razzies, I think, are definitely an organization that should not exist anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
really into any awards, as I'm very outspoken about, but the Razzies. The thing is, like, I think there's a way of doing that that's funny. You know what I mean? I think there's a way of doing that that's funny and lighthearted, but so often it just feels like mean and strange, which is why, like, I prefer your show, which is Bad Movies We Love. You're not pretending. This isn't like sycophantic, like, oh,
Yeah,
these are
not at
the
all.
greatest movies of all time. But there's something like mean spirited about
Yeah,
just
and I
be
think
like, this movie sucks, and these people should be ashamed of themselves. Like, I don't think Barry Pepper should be ashamed of himself. I think, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen here,
yeah, and what they produced was like that weird cornmeal slop. So, but no, I mean I agree with you in that I think the Razzies sort of came from a place of like nobody's doing this. We
Mhm.
should do this because there was a fascination of like awards culture in cinema.
Mhm.
And so like I understand the reason that it first existed, but it does pivot at some point to like, okay, that gimmick's kind of like run its course. Now what? And I think what it did was it sort of opened the door for, as you put it, like a lot of sort of mean spirited criticism to be born. And I mean, even in running my own website, when I do the awards at the end of every year, like there was a time where I was like, worst movie. And then I was like, nah, that's not fair. And then I changed it to like most disappointing. And I was like, you know what? Like, that's not fair either. Like, I don't have to do that. I was like, I did it because I felt like part of me, like, oh, this stuff is out in like the sort of movie fandom culture, I might as well include it. And then just like the more I did it, the more I was like, nah, I don't want to do that anymore. So I don't even have
Yeah.
stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, I try as much as possible to be positive, and again, not like lying, not sycophantic, not glazing over things, but when I have an urge to be negative or dunk on somebody or be superior, I just try to suppress. I just go the other way. It's like, why? Like, for what? What is the point of doing that? And I think if you boil it down a lot of time, you find that it's just to make yourself feel better or to make yourself look smart or to make yourself look cool. And that is one of the things that I hate about any subculture or group of people who like something, is the guy who just knows everything and he knows everything that's wrong with everything. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, it's like, we both spend time on social media and I'm sure we both scroll past things that like, it's triggering in the way that you want to respond to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is something that I strongly disagree with. And I could make a point of it to engage in this conversation. But like you said, like what good is going to come from it ultimately? And so I typically just like don't interact like that at all anymore because no good has ever come from it. Really, it's like maybe once or twice someone and I like got into a conversation where it's like, oh, we sort of found even ground, and I don't think I still interact with that person ever. So it didn't really have like a net positive outcome. But I do sort of like tell myself, the Bart Simpson meme of him writing the standards on the chalkboard. Mine is like, don't be snarky today. Don't be snarky today.
Sure.
And I feel like what I've come to sort of just accept, especially with doing this show, is that like, look, I'm like a collection of carbon dust on a freaking rock that's hurtling through space around a giant gas ball. Like, I don't know fuck about shit.
Sure.
So I can just enjoy what I enjoy, and that can be it. That's all it has to be. It doesn't have to be a fucking dick measuring contest or anything like that. And I think that's when, you had first joined the film club and we talked about Brigsby Bear and how it is sort of this message about just like allowing people to like what they like and pursue the things that they want to pursue, and ultimately what allowing that does for the people around that person, where you see a lot of the people whose negative perceptions of that change as they sort of let go of control. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that, a lot of good-spirited people have dealt with the Razzies in a way that doesn't come off as like this ego thing or this arrogant thing. They've been able to take it on the chin, but like in reading some of Travolta's quotes, he's like, "Oh, I pay people to make sure that I don't know what's going on at the Razzies," which is kind of like a weird statement to make. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to try to convince somebody that you don't pay attention to the Razzies, maybe don't brag about the guy you have on payroll whose job it is to prevent you from reading the Razzie news, because that tells me that you're probably very aware of what the Razzies are doing.
Sure. Yeah, that's odd.
It's very odd. But I think now is probably a good time to go to Critics Corner. But I also want to point out one thing that I like. Oh, yeah. One thing, I don't even need to put in the sound effects now. One thing that I do like that came very late in this movie was the term crap lousy. It's in like the last minute or two of the movie. And I was like, of all the terms to come out of this movie, I think crap lousy might be the one that best defines this movie.
They're cursing in this film, and then they're also just saying crap. It's insane. It's insane. I crap is one of those words that like I feel like it's used very rarely outside of television or real life. It's not appearing in a whole lot of movies. And like I would be curious to see between like Napoleon Dynamite and Battlefield Earth, excluding those two movies, what other movie has like this high of a concentration of crap in it? It's
You need one of those curves like over time where you see crap usage.
So it'd be like Napoleon Dynamite, Battlefield Earth, and then like way down here. Yeah.
Someone said crap in a movie once and it makes the grid.
Right.
Okay, well, let's go to Critics Corner and let's get into the 9 Metascore here, because it's going to be brutal, especially in the beginning with these zeros, because we're going to start with Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. Gave it a 0. Said, with this kind of epic ineptitude, hell, the flick is set in the year 3000. You go for worst of the millennium. So he's setting the bar that nobody's going to pass how bad of a movie this is for quite some time. And I mean, look, didn't it win worst drama of 25 years? So it's getting there. It's already like quarter of a way to worst movie of the century.
Right.
Let's see. We can go with another 0, but we got 3 10s on the board from film.com, Newsweek, or TNT Rough Cut.
Are you asking me?
Yes. Sorry.
Let's
include that part.
Let's do TNT. I'm very curious.
I don't even know what TNT Rough Cut is, but this is Jay Rentley. Said the only danger in seeing this film is in busting a gut at its unintentional hilarity. So, hey, look, he understands that, like me, I find this to be one of the most unintentionally funny movies that I've ever seen, because nothing really works the way that it's supposed to. But watching it sort of collapse in on itself under the weight of its own pressure is something that is morbidly entertaining, I'll say.
Sure. I think so.
It has it. So we get, let's see, a 16. Now we'll jump that one. We'll go to a 20. And this is from Variety. Dennis Harvey says, yet the overall look, though derivative, Matrix, Blade Runner, Waterworld, etc., rates as Battlefield's one non-guilty pleasure. And I mean, that's a tough sell. I mean, if you're giving it credit for its ability to poorly impersonate the other films that you mentioned, and that's the one thing that you're saying is the good thing, that's tough. I'm surprised he gave it a 20, to be honest. But I mean, I guess he liked the pleather and the boots.
Right.
He was into those furry gloves.
We need to check his closet for what were those tubes, Jankos, and Alien whatever those were called.
Let's see. We got all right. Salon is a 30. Boston Globe's a 38. I'll let you choose between those two.
Wow. Salon.
Salon. Okay, this is Andrew O'Hare. Shot after shot, photographed at wobbly, off-center angles for no particular reason. Weigh every action sequence down with super slow-mo in lame imitation of The Matrix, or every single scene with a vertical wipe. So, yeah, I mean, it's not only an issue with the shot making, but with the editing. Because it's as if like you're first discovering editing techniques. And maybe it was somebody who didn't have a long reputation in the editing room, and you had to get what you could get because you gave all the money to the wrong department. And like, so maybe that has something to do with sort of like those back end creative decisions, because a lot of movies sort of like get like you either make it or break it in the editing room sometimes. And yeah, a lot of the best filmmakers like have very good relationships with longtime editors that understand them as the creative, and getting on that same page makes a big difference.
You know what I'm very curious about, and I should have looked this up before and I didn't, but I'm looking it up right now. I want to see who edited this. And if they had done not a ton of titles that would be easily recognizable. They did the Scream Team for Disney Channel. That's about it. I don't think I've heard of anything else.
Was that a movie or TV show?
I think that was like one of the Disney Channel original movies.
Okay. At least it was a feature-length movie.
Yeah.
Hey, this guy did a Disney Channel movie. Get him in here. We're on a budget.
Well, he actually did it after this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Would you like to try your hand at editing, sir? Come on in. See, maybe you would have done a better job with Photoshop on this.
I really want to run at this movie. I want to try. I want to try.
That means we both have to read the book and start working on the sequel treatment, which, I mean, that's a tall ask, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe fun side project for film. And last but not least, we've got the Chicago Tribune. Michael Wilmington gave it a 50. So halfway home. Said, Scientology or not, the movie is a battlefield bummer that makes you want to revolt. And that seems just as negative as basically all the other comments, but he at least gave it a 5 out of 10. Maybe he's a Scientologist.
That's pretty surprising. 5
Right?
out of 10. I mean, anyone rating this halfway on any scale is pretty surprising.
I mean, let's see. If you had seen, 5 movies and none of them were sci-fi films, you could watch this and be like, that was amazing.
Right.
Because I have no frame of reference and the world building. And I mean, it's not good, but so I think, especially at the time in history where this movie sort of fell, it became really just a victim of its own hubris and of circumstance. Because a few years earlier, this probably goes down a bit smoother. Nobody has their expectations raised by something like The Matrix. And this movie can sort of just, gallop off into the sunset as being mediocre and maybe not being remembered as being this disaster. But there is something about a train wreck that is watchable. I mean, people watch reality TV for the fights and the disaster of it. And so there is a certain level of entertainment that comes with just watching it to see everything that went wrong.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if Christian went on to do much after this, because he was an assistant director for a long time. And I mean, he's got a lot of directorial credits, but where did this fall in the line? Oh, he's got a movie called Galaxy Built on Hope. Is this another? Oh my goodness. But Battlefield Earth was right in the middle. Hey, he's got Masterminds in there. Okay. Not too bad.
That same editor had done Masterminds.
Okay.
So that's definitely how he got the job. They had worked together.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to bring your friends along for the ride. And it's like, hey, I'm getting this opportunity to do this. Do you want to do this? But I think it was, I don't remember if it was Corey Mandell or JD Shapiro, the screenwriter for this, that tried to get their name taken off of this or like use a pseudonym. And his agent had to talk him out of it, saying that there is a big difference in the paycheck that you're going to get if you put your pseudonym on this. And so begrudgingly agreed to take it on the chin for financial reasons and just absorb the loss in terms of creativity. But that it's crazy that the movie's reputation got to the point where like the person that wrote it was like, I don't even want my name on this thing. Very
Right.
few movies like really reach that level.
Yeah, and they really JD Shapiro only has 2 other credits. Corey Mandell has none.
Well, I hope whichever one of the two it was, they got paid really well to keep
Yeah.
their name on this, because maybe they were right and their agent had to make a bad decision.
Wow, you want to hear something wild? Absolutely
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
Same cinematographer of Battlefield Earth went on to do Hell or High Water.
Whoa.
Which
Okay.
is an incredible film. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of, I mean, you
Not
know,
too many Dutch angles there.
No, you point at good things of John Travolta, you know, even the director Christian, and it's just too many strange elements to make this work. They're talented people, but for this time it was a swing and a miss for sure.
Yeah. And usually like at the beginning of the show, I tend to ask people like what would they summarize is the reason that people think this is a bad movie. But I think with this one, like it's coming in with like a significantly worse reputation than probably every other movie that I've ever done on this show. So instead, I want to ask you, what are the good things about this movie that you can take away from it?
Sure. So again, I think Barry Pepper is maybe acting in a different movie than everyone else, or at least Travolta. Again, like I don't really think there were a few lines where I was like, that could have been better. But he's doing Taylor from Planet of the Apes, you know, like he's doing the whole like savor of humanity thing. I'm not surprised that he's acting a little strongly, I guess I could say. So I think that he's doing a good job. I think that when they veer into like just full on silly, like the whole bartender head thing that we didn't really mention, I do like the design of like Planet Ship. Again, it's like Baron Harkonnen all over again, but that's about it. I mean, and then again, just like looking at the story, trying to see the story behind the movie that we're watching, and like loving science fiction, I think that any person who loves any genre will forgive a lot of things. Like people who love horror movies,
Yeah.
they will watch the most garbage film and be like, I love it. I love it so much. Like I love all the Halloween movies. The Halloween movies are horrible. You know, the Friday the 13th movies, they're horrible. But if you love that genre, to you look past all of that stuff. And so for me, loving sci-fi, I'm able to watch this and not throw something at my TV. But to bring anyone into any science fiction, you know, my dad is not a science fiction person. You could show him Arrival, you could show him The Matrix, and he'd be like, I have no idea what just happened. I did not like that at all. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be thinking. Is that a problem with the movie, or is that a problem with him? You know what I mean? And so if you bring mass audiences into this, no way are people gonna like it. But anyway, I don't know if that really answered the question, but that's how I feel.
I mean, it seems like this is the genesis of movie enemies, where you say something about the the horror films that everybody loves, and it goes from there. But
hey, I appreciate. Look, I came here to talk about Troll 2. If you're listening to this and you think, oh man, Seth is a hater, go back and listen to the episode on Troll 2. And you will see a very exuberant, happy, excited Seth. I love bad movies. but
within reason.
Well, I'm able to recognize what they
Yeah.
are. Like, I'm not deluding myself.
I mean, I will, of course, concede that I think Troll 2 has more charm than this film. Like, it's like the energy is in a better place. So even when it's making questionable decisions or things that don't make sense, it's all a little bit lighter and more fun than this movie, because as we talked about, this movie like takes itself way too seriously for the kind of movie that it is. And it's to its detriment, because it takes someone like me, like throwing all my expectations out the window and being like, all right, I'm just going to like put this on and vibe with whatever is happening and see if I can make it work. And like you said, I'm a big sci-fi fan. You're a big sci-fi fan. We're willing to sort of forgive and indulge movies within the genre for the sake of it, but also to acknowledge that like this is sort of like a failure on so many different fronts as a sci-fi film. Even for the things that we like about it, it gets in its own way too much. Where I think a movie like Troll like doesn't really get in its own way. Like maybe it's stumbling a little bit and it doesn't have the clearest idea of like where its strengths are, where its weaknesses are, but you don't really have this experience where you're feeling like the movie is just drowning you in what you said is like muck or mud or just this sort of like meandering, bumbling tone of like, how is this movie 2 hours long kind of thing. So I think with Battlefield Earth, if you can really just like check whatever expectations you have at the door and get on board with this as a late 80s, early 90s B movie, a direct to video B movie, then this is that vibe for sure. I mean, there's like Cyborg, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie from the late 80s. It feels like oddly like this. Another one that I would say is probably pretty close is, it's often referred to as Dark Angel, but I learned it as I Come in Peace. And it's a Dolph Lundgren sci-fi film where he fights like an intergalactic assassin. But yeah, like probably better than Battlefield Earth by a decent margin though, but also it knew what it was. Right. But you could watch those two movies back to back and not realize they're made like 15 years apart. So that's Battlefield Earth's biggest problem. But I want to give you the opportunity, and I don't know how to like phrase it with a movie like this, but is there like a gateway drug kind of movie that would serve as the go-between between us here in reality and Battlefield Earth?
I don't know about a movie, but I would say if you can get your hands on any sci-fi channel original television shows produced in the mid 90s, and then just put this on and pretend that it's like a sequel made for TV movie, you would probably be right at home.
Yeah, that's why I think when I watched it the second time and it was like a throwaway Sunday afternoon or something, and I was probably playing Civilization on my computer, I'm like, all right, I just put this on in the background. And I was like, hey, you know what? This isn't as bad as when I was horribly disappointed the first time.
No, you go to the theater for this.
Oh, yeah.
Not knowing. Yeah, absolutely not.
Imagine today you spend like $50 to go to the movie, get snacks, you get nestled in for this. Like, yeah, you're walking out of this one. And we're not the type of people that walk out of movies either.
I have never walked out of a film. The only time I did was I brought my son to watch The House with a Clock in Its Walls.
Okay.
Eli Roth. And he would have been 5 or younger. And we didn't know that it was like as scary. Have you ever seen that?
No, but it is Eli Roth, so I have an idea of him trying to like tone down what he does.
For the most of the movie, it's Jack Black, and it's like a young kid is the protagonist, and it's kind of like a goofy, like Goosebumpsy vibe,
Nickelodeon style.
There are a few scenes in that like scared me, that are like really, really disturbing and like messed up. And my son, who has always handled scary stuff in films like really, really well, was just very slowly like over the course of like 30 minutes rotating his body until he was facing the back of the seat. And I said to him, "Do you want to leave?" And he was like, "Yes." And as we were walking out, he was like, "That was too much. That was too much for me." And I was like, "Oh no." So we only had like 10 minutes left, but that's the only time I ever walked out of a movie. I will never walk out of a movie, even if it's bad. I want to see how it ends because the ending could turn everything around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it can really make it. When people, I hate when people will either like log something on Letterboxd and be like, "I didn't finish this, it sucks." And I'm like, "Oh, you suck. You didn't finish it." Or just today there was like this big tweet going around comparing Wolf of Wall Street with Miss Marvel, the TV show.
Yes.
Someone
For
had
some
asked,
odd reason.
yeah, someone had asked the original poster, like, "Well, what did you think about this, this, and this in Wolf of Wall Street?" And they said, "I've never seen it." And so they're like, making this whole big point about the differences between these two films of a film that they have never seen. And so that I hate that. And so for that, I've sat through movies that I was like, the Friday the 13th remake in 2000, I don't remember when, but the one where they're like going to harvest a big weed harvest or whatever.
That sounds fun, at least.
Oh man, I wanted to walk out of that movie so bad, and I couldn't do it. But anyway,
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as there's still, time left on the runtime, there's always hope.
of course,
Right?
I mean,
I'm
how many
like,
movies come
maybe
around
this
in
is
the
going to
end?
happen. I'm going to hold out hope that what I think
Yeah,
could maybe save this movie is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, okay. But I
right.
will maintain hope.
Yeah.
Because hope is fun.
Yeah. And I've been wrong before. So.
Yeah. I'm wrong all the time. It's fine.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm just a bunch of carbon dust. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
It's okay to be wrong. But I want to give you the chance to talk about what you're working on, because I don't even think you had started the show yet officially when you came on and did the show last time. We were right around the beginning of it. We had sort of talked about what you had laid out and that it was about to start. I don't even know if I had it up in the show notes because it wasn't official yet.
Yeah. So we just passed the year mark of like starting to plan the show. We had met in like late August, and that's when I kind of like made the pitch to Michelle and then sent her an actual like PowerPoint pitch going through all of the different aspects of the show and like down to like Patreon content and like who would do what, and because I really wanted to like make it happen. And so anyway, we just passed a year of like working on the show. So even though we're only in like month 9, it feels like it's been so much longer. But anyway, I host a show with my friend Michelle called Movie Friends, where for the most part we're watching movies that she has not seen before, that I pick from a category or a topic for each month. So for September we just did sci-fi films, and yeah, I mean basically it's like an experiment in how to talk to a non-movie person about movies and how two friends can have like very different opinions on things, and it doesn't devolve into like argument and fighting because it's all relative anyway. And so that's why it's called Movie Friends. And also because, if I had a question about the Bills, right, I would go to you. You're my Bills friend. If I had a question about
that's so sweet of you to say.
Well, I would go to my wife. Like that's my computer programming friend. And so generally people in life, they have a movie friend. And it's like, if you're not into movies, but you have a question about the Oscars or something happened, or, you did go and see a movie that weekend, you go to that person at work and you're like, "Hey, what did you think about this?" Right. And so that's kind of what we want to be for people who are like just getting into film, or maybe who don't have friends in their real life to talk to about movies. Like you can talk to us. We'll be your movie friends.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And I think by doing it that way, like you make yourself accessible to like an age demographic that's probably significantly younger than the people that would listen to this show, because most of the stuff I'm talking about here is like 20 years old. So
Sure.
it's like some of it is popular in pop culture, some of it's not. Like Drop Dead Fred surprisingly got a nice little bump today, so people are coming out and supporting Drop Dead Fred, which is nice to see, considering that in real life, like outside of my family, I don't think I've ever met anyone that's like, hey, I like Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
I would listen to an entire 2-hour long discussion about Drop Dead
Right.
Fred. I
Right.
like it that much, right? So I'm happy for you to be able to have not just the platform to do that with Michelle, but to sort of like embrace the part of you that loves talking about film and celebrates film in that way. And I mean, you've spun that off into what, several other like sort of sub series as well.
Dude, we do. It's insane.
I know.
I was listening to
I was listening to the Fifth Element episode. I'm like, wow. It's like, I thought when I put out 100 episodes in a year last year of the other show, which included episodes of this show, but it was like football, interviews, movie stuff. So it was all like just jumbled together. So I was just thinking of how much work that was for me. And I feel like on your pace right now, you're probably somewhere in that neighborhood where you're making multiple episodes a week.
Yeah. So we have right now, we have 3 shows on Patreon. We're about to launch a 4th one. So that will be 2 episodes a week. Main show episodes, and then 4 Patreon episodes. And then I also do new release movies that go up. And then I've also started reaching out to different directors, interviewing them about their experience making things and their inspirations. And so, yeah, I mean, this month was a light month and we still put out 10 episodes.
Yeah, that's a lot of editing time.
Compared to last month, in August, we did a whole series on the first season of the OC. And so that was like 2 episodes a week, plus the Patreon shows, plus the new release ones. And I think I did an interview that month too. It was, so we do a lot of stuff, and I enjoy doing it. Like, if I didn't enjoy doing it, I wouldn't do it. But my Twitter bio says the only thing I want to do is talk to you about movies, and it's the truth. Like, I really love how, if you aren't stuck in your ways, film can be a great bridge between cultures and between people. I've met a lot of people from India just talking about Indian films that I've watched, and you meet a lot of different people that you would never meet in real life. And so as a person who's interested in people primarily, film is a great way to learn about other cultures and meet people who are in those cultures. So yeah, I love it. But yeah, we do a lot of crap. It's crazy. And then next year we're going to be doing a series for Patreon with my mom, where we're going through all the films of the Fast and the Furious, because that's like her favorite film series.
That's funny,
and like
though.
Other things too. But we'll slow down at some point, but it's fun. So
yeah, oddly enough, we unpacked a box of Kristen's that was her DVDs, and she has like all the Fast and the Furious movies, and none of them are even open.
Wow.
And they're all Blu-rays.
Wow.
I'm like, why do you have this? So she did have some gems in there too, though. So I was happy to sort of like merge our collections, and I still have like 200 movies from her grandpa that has a lot of classic films, a lot of like classic, and then stuff that runs up to like the 80s and 90s. So really like a huge collection that I need to go through with that at some point as well. I don't even know what to do with that. But yeah. I applaud your effort.
I save them for identify prizes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I know. I used to keep score, and then it was like, my goodness, the amount of time it takes me to sort of like find the person that I'm going to do each week, and then like source like images of all the movies, and then like have everything ready to post when I need to post it, and then also to answer every single person that responds.
Wait, you It's only once a week?
No. So I was doing it every day, and then I was like, this is too much. So I backed off to 3 times a week. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But then on Sunday, now I've finally got this sort of like the
Right.
quad box back up and running. So now it's like when I'm watching the football games that I don't care about, I'm like, okay, I can do this and sort of flex that muscle as well. And then I need to still come up with a gift giveaway for September, which is almost over, and run it for a few days before Saturday. But yeah, I commend you, my friend, because I know how long it takes me to edit one episode of this show and to sort of like do it the way that I want to do it. I had so much fun with Dara doing Drop Dead Fred. I forgot one of the sound effects and I had to go back and put that in again. I could have just let it slide, but I was like, no, I got to go back and re-upload that episode. And so that's what my Fridays are. It's like a long editing day where I'm trying to answer everybody's like prompt responses as well. And so I know that it's a lot of work, but I really do appreciate not just taking it on the chin for a movie that you don't necessarily like in Battlefield Earth, but you volunteered. You put yourself on the cross for this one, and you said I could pick whatever. And so I was like, all right, well, we're going to do the worst one then.
It's funny because you had put out that episode of your wish list, and I'm writing them down. And I thought like, okay, it's going to be like 5 movies. And then I was writing everything down, I was like, holy moly, this is like 40 movies. We have like whole Jean-Claude sections and so anyway, I can't remember all the ones that I had sent you. But
Tank Girl was on there.
Tank Girl?
Yeah, Tank Girl.
Yeah, Tank Girl was on there. But all of the other movies were movies I like actually like, and Battlefield Earth was probably the one I liked the least. And then you picked that one, and I was like, well, I think, you know.
Hey, it's Sci-Fi September, so at least the timing was good for you.
That's right.
If you were going to have like your thoughts formulated well at any time for Battlefield Earth, now is probably
that's right. Like I said, I feel like I breezed into this like in the exact right headspace.
Yeah, I mean, there was no worry that like Battlefield Earth was going to sort of like displace any of the other sci-fi films that you had covered so far for this month. It's not like, oh, this is going to come in here and completely reshape the way I think about Planet of the Apes.
No. I mean, what it did do is really firm up what those films did right, though. Yeah. And like seeing some of the plot devices, like, oh, that was actually very, very smart, and it prevented this movie from happening.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that it does show is that it's a slippery slope. And like, if you end up on the slick part of it, it's very easy to sort of have everything go wrong. And so it's not just like what these other films did well, but sort of how close to the precipice they are for maybe all of those other films not necessarily doing everything right, and then getting caught in this sort of like momentum of, well, we're over budget and behind schedule, and we have to finish the project and get it delivered. And so it is a very fine-tuned art, and it's one of the things that I think probably is most difficult about directing well, and especially like large scale ideas, is that you have to be a very good like manager of people, and you have to be very like economical with not just your time on screen, but your time behind the camera as well. And I mean, it's not a sci-fi movie, but after we watched Ultra Christ for September, I reached out to the Facebook page. I got in touch with the director of the film, and we'll see if we can get that done here sort of like end of October. September will be over, but I think it's still going to be
that's awesome.
A very, very fun movie to sort of go through with somebody that was very close to it, especially now that it's 20 years old too.
Right.
So again, Seth, thank you, my man. I know it's late for you. I got to go give Grandpa's cat some diabetes medication. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. I wish Battlefield Earth was a better movie for both of our sakes, but
it's all right. You know,
when you offered, I had to take the chance because nobody else was going to volunteer for Battlefield Earth. I had several people reach out to me about Drop Dead Fred. I've had some other people sort of cover some similar ground with some other movies, but I knew if I waited, nobody was going to just be like, yeah, I'd love Battlefield Earth. That was never going to happen. So So thank you very much for indulging me
always-
on this one.
Always glad to help out wherever I can. All right, I gotta go.
Appreciate it, man. You have a good night.
See you later.
My thanks once again to Seth for joining me, for biting the bullet, and for volunteering to talk about Battlefield Earth. I know he loves talking movies, and you can hear him do just that on the Movie Friends podcast. I'll put that up in the show notes for you. And you can find him on X every day talking movies at Sethi. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and telling a friend about it. And the new support page is live at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love, and or maybe would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me now at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love with an LUV. And as always, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies.